Hello and welcome to the second season of my podcast. I'm your host, Mehermi Chandani. I'm a mother with a story, a business leader with a vision, and a transformative coach whose mission is to empower leaders, strengthen the relationship they have with themselves so they can thrive in all areas of their lives. This podcast is in collaboration with Light Digital, and we are shooting here at this beautiful space by Casa Luso. I've chosen this serene and calm spot because it really complements my guest's energy. Super excited to have Malvika Varadan on my podcast in season 2. She was here at season 1 and we absolutely loved her. So she's here again with us on season 2. Thank you, Malvika.
Thank you
for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Meher. Thank you for having me twice over. Thanks.
So, by now I know you. I know how much you love performing arts, and you left a huge, awesome career to start what you wanted to to live your passion and your purpose. And it is to globally arm people with tools and skills to embrace their freedom of expression, which I think is beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about that and your journey in public speaking, and what would you like the world to know about you?
Okay, so there's a lot that we do. The Hive is a drama and public speaking school for kids specifically. We run across 8 different geographies in the UAE, so 8 different neighborhoods basically. We are
8? Wow, that's a lot from the last time we met.
Yes, we've grown tremendously.
It was 2 last time I believe when we met.
It's a lot.
Amazing. Well done and congratulations.
Thank you. We basically help young people have the confidence to get up on stage. So anyone who has a teenager will tell you this. They live in a very difficult world right now. Social connections are hard to make. They're always on their screens. We haven't really, I think, successfully as an education system been able to equip our kids with the emotional intelligence that they need to navigate the world, and 2, with the confidence to be able to get up on a stage and hold an audience and present their ideas. And we know this as adults, right? No matter how brilliant your idea might be, no matter how fantastic your education might be, if you can't communicate this to an audience, then you are on a back foot. And
public speaking is one of the greatest fears of the world, right?
Yeah.
In humans.
Yeah.
So to be able to tap into that early on, I feel you've achieved so much for yourself.
Absolutely. So 3 out of 4 people in the world are afraid of public speaking. Statistically, people are more afraid of getting on a stage than of death.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that should shake you up.
Absolutely.
It's crazy how difficult we have made it for people, and I don't say that it is difficult. We've made it difficult because I teach 4-year-olds and I teach 40-year-olds, and I'll tell you that the work with a 40-year-old is more difficult because there's so much of unlearning that we have to do.
So much of conditioning.
So
and
much
programming
of
that you need to reprogram.
Yeah, and when you start early with these kids, and you just the line starts to blur between the room and the stage, and I think that's the important part. So
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So what does it mean to be alive and do what you are meant to do personally, and how do you incorporate that in your daily life?
I absolutely love the work that I do. It is by far the most important thing in the world, according to me. Everyone doesn't have to agree. I think it's the world's most important work, and I wake up every day on a mission. I do have days when I wonder to myself, like, are we doing the best we possibly can? Is there a way we can utilize our resources better? Like, why haven't we got this aspect or that aspect of the business correct? But one thing that I do not question myself about is the why. I know that the work we do is, I'd say is God's work. This is the most important work that there is in the world.
That's
and
amazing.
I don't think there's anything more important.
When you feel so connected to your why, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and when he talks about start with your why.
Yeah.
So when you feel connected to your why, I think everything just flows, and you enjoy living
Yeah.
each and every moment of your life. So it's about the journey and not the destination then. And then that's how you feel alive, right?
Absolutely, Meher. It's like anything. No? It's like a relationship as well. If you know why you're with someone, if you know why you're in the marriage, if you know why this person is important to you, then you're willing to brave the ups and downs, right? You're willing to like go through the highs and the lows. But if you don't know why you're with someone, you don't know what value they bring to your life and why this partnership is important, you wouldn't want to stick it out in a bad marriage.
Absolutely.
Right. So
I
it's
agree.
very much the same thing with work.
Amazing. Can you share a pivotal moment or experience that has transformed your approach from living to thriving? I mean, it's, you were doing another job
Yeah.
which you gave up, which was a glamorous job.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about that. Like, how did you make that shift from living to thriving?
So first of all, I had a pretty great job by any stretch of anyone's
Yes.
imagination. It paid me well. It made me famous. I had all the appreciation in the world. I worked with a fabulous team and a great company, right? So I had a lovely boss. So, on paper, it ticked all the boxes, but I just knew somewhere inside that this was not enough. To me, I felt like, number one, I had stopped learning as much as there was to learn, and whatever more there was to learn in radio, I was like, okay, that's not really what I'm interested in learning. So that was number one. Number two, I realized that money is only as good as what it can buy you, right? I felt like I had earned enough money to be able to buy my freedom. In a way, I wanted
Beautiful.
the ability to do the work that I wanted to do with the people I want to work with. I want to decide how I want to do that work. I want to decide how much of that work I want to do. And all of this can be bought. I find, to me, what I find really strange is when people who I can see are like tremendously privileged, they drive very fancy cars, they go on super fancy holidays, but they hate their work. They're getting up every morning and they're driving to a job that they detest. And to me, what is the point of an education? What is the point of life? What is the point of success? It's to be able to enjoy what you do on a daily basis and to be truly aligned with your work. And I feel like if I can't buy that for myself, then what else? Like,
So, very beautifully said. But as a coach, what I also experience is for people to give up something that they're so comfortable with.
Yeah.
You need to overcome uncertainties.
Yes.
Your limiting beliefs.
Yes.
You need to overcome that fear
yeah.
majorly.
It's true, Meher.
So how did
You've
you
got
do
to overcome the fear, yes, but there's fear anywhere. Actually, I will quote A.R. Rahman. This weekend, we spent some time with him because we were doing a panel discussion at the Firdaus Orchestra, right? And we were talking about how music is seen as an unsafe choice for young people to choose a profession in music. And he said something that's so valid. He said, everything is unsafe, which is true. I mean, you think driving to your software engineer job every day and putting yourself through all that stress is not unsafe? You think being one of those management consultants in McKinsey is not unsafe? Of course it's unsafe. You're putting yourself through unprecedented levels of stress and pain for something that you don't even believe in. That's unsafe. So
it's about
you got to
shifting your
choose
mindset
Yeah,
and-
you got to choose your hard. You've got to choose your difficult. Everything's going to be difficult. I mean, entrepreneurship is not easy. It's tough. It's really tough work. I don't get a day off. I never stop thinking about work. But I choose this. This is mine. This is my pain to suffer. It's my joy to have. And I think it's important. And I think also that's number one. I think number two is you've got to sit down and do the math. I think if you want to quit your day job and you want to follow your passion, you've got to have the guts to actually sit down and say, okay, what is the bare minimum? So an exercise that my sister did with me that I still remember and I think is so important is I sat down and wrote, what does my life cost? I mean, am I okay to live in a 1-bedroom apartment for the rest of my life? Yeah. Do I really need a Rolls Royce? No. I'm very happy driving my mid-size car and having enough gas to be able to go wherever I want. Do I need the fanciest technology in the world? No, I don't. What do I want to afford? I want to be able to afford holidays. 8 weeks of the year, I want to be able to pack a bag and go off to a mountain without answering anybody. That's my luxury. That's my Rolls Royce. Other people are going out buying fancy cars and
This
expensive
is your
shoes.
definition of thriving.
This is my definition of privilege. This is the privilege I buy. For me, maybe I'm not driving the world's fanciest car. Maybe I don't have a 10-bedroom villa, but my privilege comes from the fact that if a student walks into the hive and says that they can't pay fees, I say it's okay, come sit in class.
That's
because
amazing.
I don't
That's
have
beautiful.
to worry about it.
That's
It's
beautiful.
I can afford that. That's the luxury that I can afford. And I think being able to see that is not, you got to be able to see it and you got to be able to act on it and be honest with yourself, put the numbers down and say, okay, anything I make more than X amount a year is what I'm playing with. So play, for heaven's sake, and stop acting like you're,
So play the
coming from
game
a
of
scarcity
life
mindset.
well.
Yeah.
So it's very well said. Rather than playing from a scarcity mindset, play with the abundant mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are the key ingredients for creating a thriving mindset and to move away from a victim mindset?
I think number one, you've got to be okay with being wrong. You've got to be okay with saying, I don't know. You've got to be okay with sucking at new stuff. I think we're bringing up a generation of kids who are, they only want to do what they're good at. The moment they get 60 on 100 in something, they want to drop out of the class. The moment they fail at something or they're not doing well, they want to just drop it and walk. And I don't think that's only true of the children. The children are just the canary in the coal mine, as they say, right? They're the ones where you see it most apparently. But I think this is a generation of a world we live in where the moment it becomes hard, you want to get
Quit.
out. Yeah, you want to quit. You only want to do stuff you're really good at. You only want to post the great things. You only want to talk about your achievements. But if you really want to do cool things in life, you've got to be okay with sucking at new stuff. I try to actively seek out stuff that I'm not good at and do it in spite of being
So it
really
also
bad at
gives
it.
you, when you do things that you are not good at, it also, I think, opens up a side of you that you had never known. So it's a
Yeah.
way of learning something new about yourself, which is so important
Yes.
to connect with yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So when I was in school, I was really bad at PT. Okay, I think my PT teacher absolutely traumatized me. I was a curvy girl in middle school who did not know how to run, and she traumatized me. Okay, but I feel like now, finally, at the age of 37, I go to the gym every morning, and I'm like, I look at my coach and I'm like, teach me how to do something new. Come on, let's jump on a box and let me fall on my
Yeah,
face.
you look
and
amazingly fit, I must say.
Thank you. But you know what's even more joyful than that is, like, for the first time in my life, I'm jumping and playing.
Yeah.
I'm climbing boxes. I'm figuring out
So
how
it's
to
all
skip
about
and
not
cartwheel.
limiting yourself. It's all about not limiting yourself in your own mind, because
Yeah.
the limitations that we set we are the ones who can come in our way, right?
Yeah.
We set all the limits in our own mind,
Yeah.
and we feel we can't do it.
Yeah. We need to be okay with playing. Just play. Like, look at a bunch of 5-year-olds play. Do they not play hide and seek because they think they'll lose? They don't. They just
play
play.
for the
They
fun
just
of it.
play because it's fun. Like, we've stopped doing stuff because we just want to fall and have fun and laugh and have a good time. And to me, that's
such a
so
beautiful
important.
perspective.
Thank you.
How do you navigate challenges and setbacks while maintaining a sense of thriving? I mean, you have this amazing energy always.
Thank you.
At every point. I know you did it in radio because you had to, probably.
Yeah.
But that's you. You have this beautiful energy, and I think energy drives everything. And I think energy is really, really needed to thrive in life. In your journey, when you face challenges and setbacks, how do you navigate?
I'm trying to think of the last couple of challenges I had and give you some actual practical advice, because I think it's easy to spout some Instagram wisdom. But I think that I've learned over time, as difficult as it is, to ask for help. There are things that I've noticed are recurrent patterns in my life, right? Some of it is to do with work, some of it is to do with my personal life. And when I see that I'm first of all, I think being able to spend a lot of time on your own is really important. When you spend that time on your own, then you start to go like, why have I made the same mistake 4 times over? There must be something there. And then to be able to identify that and actually get help, and to be able to say, hey, let me call someone who actually does this or knows this, and get an external perspective is important. This year, I've been able to get help on my human resource problems. I've been able to get help on my accounting problems. I've been able to get help from a psychological perspective. I've been able to, reach out into my network of amazing people and say like, hey, I just want to bounce some thoughts off you. What do you think? I think that's nice. That's a luxury. That's my Rolls Royce.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about, of course, asking for help when we need it, but understanding yourself first.
Understanding
your business or yourself or your life or everything.
All
and
of
then,
it.
Yeah,
All of it.
And then being able to reflect and reach out for help and getting to
And
be able
also
to
using
solve
that
those
help, na?
problems. Yes.
I think a lot of times we get people to help, but we
we-
just want to
we're shy,
rant.
yes.
We want to rant and tell them all our problems. We don't actually want to hear what solutions they have.
We don't want to find those solutions.
Yeah. So I think that's something. If I have to say this year, what have I learned? It's been that.
So would these be the practical tips for the listeners to cultivate some resilience, thrive in the face of adversity? Like in the face of adversity, what do you think would be?
It depends on what kind of adversity we're talking about, right? I think a lot of times adversity can also be solved by some very practical things. For example, being able to have financial backing, being able to, make sure that the risks that you're taking are risks that you can afford. Sometimes it's as simple as just doing your numbers. Sometimes it's as simple as like just sitting down with numbers and accounts and getting that aspect of it. Sometimes adversity is about it is about being able to take the time to self-reflect and introspect and be able to seek the help that you need. But I think a lot of it is, as cliche as it sounds, a positive mindset. Knowing that it will all be aligned and we've got to actively choose. I think intention is a big thing for me. Like for me it's about like I try, and I'm nowhere near perfect, but I try to make everything I do intentional. It's an intentional conversation, it's an intentional meal, it's an intentional interaction or a friendship or a relationship. I choose you.
That's
choose
beautiful.
This time. I choose this meeting. I choose this kid. It's like...
So it's all about being able to impact someone else and get that kind of value from someone, because that's the choice you make in your life to be able to thrive.
I guess that's the difference between the stress you want to have and the stress you don't want to have, right?
Very
Some
true.
people walk through a forest and they call it the biggest, some of the most traumatic incidents in their life is when you have to walk through a forest and survive it, and other people do it as a choice on a holiday. The only difference is the fact that you had a choice. So I think when you choose what you want to do with your day, that starts a good cycle. I think that's a nice way to kind of start.
How does fostering a sense of community contribute to individual thriving and you thriving as a CEO of this hugely, amazingly growing community and brand called Hive now?
Thank you, Meher. I think the power of community is important. I wish I had known it earlier. I'm only now waking up to the power of a community, I think. I think communities are about more than just, and let's talk about, for example, a digital community, right? When you talk about building communities on, for example, Instagram, or what we're doing now with our podcast, More Bang for Her Buck, is we're creating a community of women who want to talk about money, for example. And I think that's powerful because if I think back to some sort of big mistakes I've made, some expensive mistakes I've made, I don't just mean in terms of money, but also just mistakes that cost me a lot of time, energy, resources. I know that there are women out there who have been through that situation, who could have solved it for me simply by, if I had picked up the phone and said, hey, do you think I should do this? They would have said no for these reasons. But I didn't do it, right? And a lot of what I do today is because I wish I had that community back then. I wish I had reached out and called somebody. So it's not just about creating a community of people, but it's also about oiling the pipelines of that community, right? You've got to keep the communication constantly flowing. You've got to have meaningful interactions within this community and create spaces where people can come and put their bags down and say, so I'm having a really horrible day for this reason. What do you think? And a safe space, as they say, for them to receive advice or be able to be heard.
So that's what you are creating with the podcast.
It's what we're creating with the podcast in a way. It's what we're creating for kids with the Hive.
With the Hive.
Building
Beautiful.
communities, spaces where you can just come, put your bags down and say, oh, it was tough today. And someone else will say, really, tell me more about it.
That's unconditional hearing.
Yeah,
and
unconditional presence.
Yeah. That's what we need as humans in life.
Yeah, we do.
What role does personal growth and self-awareness and self-love, I love to talk about, the personal connection, the relationship we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
What role does that play in a journey to thriving? In other words, from where you were to where you are now,
Yeah.
How much did self-love play a part?
My perspective on self-love has changed over the course of our podcast. I've been able to meet some amazing women who are doing great stuff around money and financial wellness and empowering women to have financial independence, right? So I want to take it back to that. I think self-love is often mistaken as put on a face pack and, get a pedicure and go get your hair done. It's not that.
Yeah.
No, it's
Absolutely.
not.
No.
That is, I mean,
Not self-love.
that's a great, it's also lovely to get pedicures. I love a pedicure.
It's part of self-love, but it's more self-care, I guess.
Yeah, but I think self-love, right, is about being able to, number one, take a risk on yourself. There are so many women right now who have a brilliant idea for, say, a podcast like yourself or a business like yourself. And they probably have the money in the bank. And if someone else had asked them for the money to start their business, or their husbands had asked them for it, they would have unthinkingly taken out that money and given it to them. But they won't back their own skills.
It's about building the relationship with yourself,
Yeah,
to better yourself and to have the confidence and self-esteem with yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's one kind of self-love, right? Have you been able to back your own ideas? Are you taking a risk on yourself? Like, are you
have that confidence and trust in yourself,
in your own skills, your own ideas? That's number one. I think number two, self-love is also about, like, how are you talking to yourself in your head, right? I know this
Most
about
important.
women.
Yes.
Across the board, we're so critical of what we do. We're so
guilty.
hard on ourselves.
Yes.
Yesterday I was recording a podcast, and as soon as it got over, my first thing was, oh my god, I made a mistake. Like, I blanked out for that 5-second thing. I should have been more on it. Like, I was dazing out in that part. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm actually pretty good at this. Why am I kicking myself so much? Like, why do I have to be so self-critical all the time?
Yeah, self-judgment, and we do that, and I think it's high time we need to move away from those things and understand that self-love is about accepting, appreciating, and acknowledging ourselves.
It is, and if there is one feather we can take from the cap of men, it's that we need the same kind of audacious confidence that they have, right? Perfectly average men with a quarter of the talent that I have will walk into a room as if they own it, and I will be all like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, can I just take 1 minute of your time? We're so apologetic about who we are, and absolutely average guys will just walk in and like sit with the with the power of like
we
they're
definitely
kings,
need to take our power back.
I think we need
From
to learn
all
something.
the people we have given it to, because as women, it's like you're a mother, you're a mother-in-law, or you're a daughter-in-law, you're a sister, and I think the empathy and compassion that women have, we tend to give our power away to everyone. And I just felt that at one point in my journey, I needed to understand, where am I giving my power away? And how do I take it back in a nice way? Because all you need to give is love to yourself and to others. But the power must remain with us. Can you share your experience in the importance of setting and pursuing meaningful goals for yourself and achieving what you have set out to, and feel that energy of thriving?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started doing something last year. I've been making vision boards at the end of every year for like the last, I think, 5 or 6 years. Okay, I take this very seriously. A lot of my friends really laugh at how seriously I take it.
No, I love vision boards.
I take the whole day, and then I'll go and buy that like big canvas, and then I take out the pictures and I print it, and I will go to like a printer or like a Desco and get it printed and come back and stick it and spend a lot of time on it. But this year I tried to do something new. At the end of the year, I took a 7-day holiday to Bhutan. And I just decided that I was going to take 7 days to just figure out where I wanted to direct my my year 2024. And the way that I kind of justified it to myself is that, what do companies do? They do an offsite, right? They do a strategic offsite. They take their key leadership people, all these people in leadership roles, and they take them to some nice resort, and then they sit down and say, okay, where do we want to take the business from here? Like, where do we want to grow? What do we want to scale back on? What did we do well? What did we do badly? Where are we failing? Where are we growing? What are the opportunities? And I thought, like, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I run this ship. I set off little small ships on the side. I need to take my strategic leadership team, which is all the voices in my head, on holiday and sit them down and say, hey, okay, so come on guys, let's talk. Like, insecurity, can you please talk to confidence? Confidence, can you please speak to strategy?
Amazing.
And like, I just want the voices in my head to like sit down and decide where we want to go from here. And so I did that, and then I took a couple of days to walk through the mountains and do some lovely treks and sit in the calm of Bhutan, where there's really not much else to do. There's no major like entertainment or shopping or anything. And I made my vision board for the year, and I have already, I think, accomplished about 30% of it, which is not bad given
well
that
done.
it's March.
You just
not
started.
bad. Not bad.
Started the third month of the year.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about that. For people who fear being alone, what would you tell them? Like, I mean, I know you do these things, and from our conversations, you love to be with yourself because
love
you are
it.
in love with yourself.
Yeah.
But there are so many people who fear being alone for 1 minute or even 1 hour of the day.
Yeah.
They can't sleep alone. They can't eat alone. So what's your take on this? Because I love myself and I am more than happy to be alone.
Yeah.
But a lot of my clients, a lot of my friends, they fear being alone.
It's a tough one, right? And I think that it's so important. I think especially for women, I know women who are like in their 50s and 60s and they've not spent a single day on their own without a friend, without a family member, without somebody that they know by their side. And that's a bit scary to me, right? I think it should be strategically put into your schedule if you can afford it, which I think most people who are watching this can. It doesn't matter where you go. It's not about I want to book a holiday to the Maldives or a Switzerland resort for 7 days. No, you can go to Georgia. You can go to Russell Khema. You can just tell your family not to call you and sit at Kite Beach for 7 days in a row. It doesn't have to be an expensive affair.
Yes.
But I think taking the time out and drawing that boundary is really, really important. I would even suggest that as young as 18 and 19, we start training our teenage girls to just be on their own. That's where identity starts, right? Are you able to
knowing yourself?
Yeah, are you able to just go to a new city and just listen to the hustle and bustle of the city and sit with yourself for a bit and come back with your thoughts? Are you okay to do that? Or are you going to just jump into a marriage and try to cover up the silence with a bad relationship? Or a good one, but either way, it's an unhealthy way to start one. I think that's really important. I think married women need to take time out away from their partners and away from their children and go on solo breaks and solo holidays, because so a friend of mine now was on our podcast recently. Her name is Rucha. You should totally meet her. She runs this thing called the Mom Identity Project, and she was talking about how she did this exercise where you put yourself at the center and you put all of these other circles around it, right? What is your life all about? And she said, I was the only one in the room whose my name was not on that list. I think that's the truth for so many women,
Absolutely.
especially Desi women.
Yes,
right?
everybody else is on the list, but you are at the bottom.
You are always at the bottom.
So
always.
That was my journey.
Yeah,
I was on the bottom of my list, and for me to come from the bottom to the number 2, my kids are still number 1 for me, but for me to come from the bottom to number 2 was a struggle, was a painful journey of breaking the barriers, shifting those mindsets, shifting those beliefs. I just couldn't do it because that's what I've seen in my community, in my culture, in my relationship with my parents, everything. The father or the mother, they all give, the mother especially, she gives entire importance to the whole family but herself.
Exactly. Everybody will eat and only then will I eat. Give everyone first. Don't be the first to take food on your plate.
Even time off for yourself.
Yeah.
The mothers never did it, so you didn't see it happening.
Yeah.
For me, it was a struggle, a challenge to put myself from the bottom of the list to number 2. But I am number 2 now, and I'm super proud of it.
And I think a lot of women also, right, they're sticking it out in terrible marriages because they think they're doing it for their children. No, the biggest service you can do your kids is to put yourself first, because the moment you do that, your daughters are learning from that, and they are going to put themselves first in their relationships, and that's going to save them decades of unhealthy relationships, right? It's going to save them decades of unhappiness. So it's about leading by example. Is that the life you'd want for your daughter? If the answer is no, then why are you doing it? Because children are not learning by what you're saying, they're learning by what you're doing, right?
Who you are.
Yeah, and who you are as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you balance your personal, professional priorities to ensure you're thriving in all areas? I think it's something similar to what we've been speaking, but how do you personally do it?
I don't. That is by far one of my biggest failures, is that I do not have a work-life balance. Thankfully, my partner is also someone who struggles with work-life balance. So we both are like 90% work, 10% personal life. No, I really struggle with it. I do. I think that's something so important for every entrepreneur to kind of be aware of. Like, I'm actively trying to fix it.
So this new concept that I understand is that there is no work-life balance, right? Because work is part of life. So it's about balancing life, because
As a whole.
as a whole, because we all are whole and complete.
Yeah.
So how do we balance this?
And
whole?
also, to me, right, the hive and the work that I do, it's everything. It's my marriage, it's my family, it's my children, it's my home, it's my prayer, it's my religion, it's everything. So I've just taken my work and it's now in everything I do. And now, when I am passionate about something, let's say tomorrow that, like, for example, I was like interested in conversations around money and women, I just made it my work. Like, if I like something so much, it becomes my work. So my work encapsulates my life rather than the other way around. But no, I try to take some time off. Now I'm working on being able to take at least 8 weeks off every year, and hopefully by 2025 I should be able to take off 4 months of the year and only work for 8 months, and then for 4 months just like run away to some kind of mountain with a backpack and
It's amazing.
climb some mountains.
Wish you the best on that.
Thank you.
What are the most common misconceptions about thriving, and how can you support your own growth and well-being by overcoming those misconceptions?
Misconceptions about thriving. I think to think that you can do it on your own. I think, okay, let's take the example of a seedling, right? If I take, a seed from that plant and I just like throw it on the middle of the road and say, now thrive, it's not going to thrive, right? It's a combination of several factors. So thriving is not just about you. You think that you have to do it against all odds, but it's about many things. Sure, you may have the guts and the passion and the drive and all of that within the seed, but the seed needs the soil needs the nurturing, the fertilizer, the water, the sunlight, the growth, the protection.
So it's about letting go of things that are not serving you anymore and being able to understand yourself to be able to thrive.
And also being able to understand yourself to see, like, my point is, like, you cannot be kicking yourself about I'm not thriving when the environment is not suiting to you. So either you need to change the environment, you need to change the fertilizer, you need to have your ear to the ground, literally, right? To be able to thrive, you need to be able to understand that, okay, this part of my life this part of my life is functioning at a,
like when you say on the wheel of life, like when you do it on the wheel of life, like what area is at what level, like you said, 9.
Correct. So, and it's not as simple as, okay, my relationship is a 10 on 10, but my kids are a 5 on 10, but my work is a 2 on 10. It's also within that work. These are the things that I'm struggling with. These are the things that are flourishing. These are the things we're good at as a team. These are the things where, as a family, we find difficult to communicate. I think to be able to see the grays and see the ups and downs, watch the graph, really keep your ear to the ground and watch it the way that a gardener would watch a plant growing. Na? What do gardeners do? They'll walk around, they'll say, okay, that's a yellowing leaf, let me like cut it. Ye plant is, it's coming in the way of that other plant, so I need to move it a little bit. I think life in thriving is also a bit like that, I guess.
Beautiful.
Not that I'm any expert, but yeah.
So tell us about the podcast and Hive again, so the viewers know and the listeners know a little bit more about exactly how they can probably be involved in all that you do.
Great. So the Hive itself is a growing, thriving community of children who love public speaking and drama. If they don't love it yet, we will get them to. Theatre is the language that we use to teach children confidence, but I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's about teaching children confidence, communication, collaboration, creativity, and in a world where AI is fast taking over everything else, these are the skills that are going to define the leaders of tomorrow. So I don't see my classroom as just a bunch of Shah Rukh Khans in the making. No. Creative classrooms are where empathetic leaders of tomorrow are built. I'm able to open your mind, expose you to curiosity, be able to give you a space where you can challenge the status quo, and I think that's really important. So I think Hive is the school of the future. I think it's a school of the future. So yeah, if your kids are not in a Hive classroom, they should be. That's number one. Number two is the podcast is produced by a company called the Brown on the Outside. We run a podcast called More Bang for Her Buck. It's very specifically about women and money. So it's all the different aspects of women and money. It's how do we ask for more of it? How do we negotiate better? How do you climb the corporate ladder and make sure that you're getting paid in line with the male counterpart, or more if you're more talented? How do you save money? How do you invest money? How do you talk to your children about money? And also very sticky subjects and stuff that really ruffles feathers, like divorce. How do you get the alimony that you deserve? How do you go about negotiating a prenup? If your boyfriend has taken money from you, how do you get it back? It's like, it's all of the sticky stuff that everyone else is kind of about.
So what led you
jump
to,
right in.
I know you did mention that, you know, you were curious on this, and you said, you know, and you struggled with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then you wanted to give more, I guess, more visibility to this subject.
Yeah,
But
I
what else
don't come
motivated
from
you?
a place of expertise, actually, Meher. I come from a place of curiosity. I think that's why the podcast is so different, because I'm not an expert on the subject. I'm going into it with the same viewpoint as the laywoman, I think, number one. Number two is, I've realized that, like, you know, we talk a lot about women's empowerment, and it absolutely annoys me that every Women's Day we throw a couple of pink cupcakes around on a table, and we will like send some people some Canva made.
We share more of
posters.
those days than actually do the work you're trying to say.
But my point is that, okay, great, Women's Day, we've all talked and we've all posted all these fancy Instagram things, but what about in effect? Right, what are we doing? Now, it's very easy for me to say, stand up for yourself, change your mindset, believe that you have the power. All that is great, but if I'm in a marriage where I don't have a job, like I don't have a separate bank account, and I need to make sure that my children's school fees are being paid for, and I need to leave a marriage where I'm unsafe because my husband is either beating me, financially abusing me, emotionally abusing me, it's not healthy, it's a toxic space, and I need to get out. What's going to count? It's money, right?
Yeah.
I need financial empowerment. I mean, any kind of
Security and empowerment for
any
you to
kind of
leave.
empowerment for women is about leaving an unsafe place. And sometimes the keys to leave that unsafe place is tangled up in money. It's the same when you have a boss who is taking advantage of you. If you want to be able to say that, I'm sorry, actually, I draw my boundaries, you're pushing this, I don't like it, I don't like the way I'm being treated, I want to walk out, you need to have some money in your bank account to be able to say that I need to get out.
So it's with your podcast, it's your mission to be able to give this awareness to
Exactly.
women.
So we
Amazing.
have the conversations about money so that women can have choices.
Amazing, love it.
We can't talk about having choices without the money to pay for those choices. So I feel that's only half the job done if we don't address the financial issue. So, yeah.
Love it, love it.
Thank
and
you.
More power to you, and wishing you all the best in building communities,
Thank
in
you.
thriving,
Thank you.
and living your best version. Thank you for being on this podcast. I really appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Meher. You are incredible as always. Bye.
Thank you for watching the second season, my podcast. If you have enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe with whoever needs to hear this. Thank you for your time.